Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Hollywood Blueprint. I'm producer A.K. Moore.
And I'm your host, Michelle Goldsboro.
We have a very exciting episode planned for you this evening where we talk to the lovely Kaitlyn Ryan.
She's an accomplished unscripted development producer at Chelsea Creative who has worked on a long list of shows,
including Crime Scene Kitchen on Fox, Hollywood House Lifts with Jeff Lewis on Amazon/Freevee, Flipping Showdown on HGTV, and a ton of YouTube originals, including Mr. Beast's Creator Games. Wow, that is a long list of stuff. Are we qualified?
No, with that being said, welcome to Free Film School. It's so lovely to meet you. Thank you for doing this.
Of course. So nice to meet you. This is my first time ever being on a podcast. I'm
Yay!
trying to try more new things this year, put myself out there. And, I love helping people kind of become, either people can be like, oh, you're totally wrong about all this. And then I learn something, or somebody's like, oh, hey, that's how I do this thing. And then I help somebody. So
yeah,
it's a win-win.
That's the goal. The goal is having as candidly as possible a conversation because I'm so frustrated by the gatekeeping and I just don't think it's necessary.
Totally.
And also then I get to meet really cool people such as yourself. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Well, to get started, Kaitlyn, welcome to the Hollywood Blueprint. Thanks for being our second guest.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. How's your Wednesday going?
Gosh, it feels like both a Thursday and a Monday, but
I feel that.
It's been great. It's been busy, which in entertainment terms is always nice.
Yeah, also busy in right now entertainment terms is like unheard of.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very lucky and always, some days I catch myself going, oh, I'm so busy, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm busy.
You're busy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first of all, congratulations, because I read in Variety that you helped develop and sell a show, and I want to plug that real quick because that's amazing. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so $1 Million Nannies on Freeform and Hulu drops on, first two episodes drop on Freeform on June 17th, and then the whole series drops on Hulu on the 18th. We're following a bunch of young, amazing, super fun, super funny nannies as they're jetting off to Ibiza, where they're working for families who are rich, famous, watching their kids, dealing with all of the crazy standards and rules. And then also, too, they're having their own kind of hot girl and hot boy Ibiza summer. We've got some nannies, some nannies. The rest you're gonna have to watch to find out. We've got some great characters, some great storylines that are gonna unfold. So it'll be a really fun one.
I'm excited. As someone who used to be a personal assistant, granted it wasn't even for that long, I was like, I understand. Even if you've done it for like a month, any kind of nannying or personal assistant work, you get it. You understand.
I was a nanny. So when I was developing the series, I was like, okay, I remember this and I remember that. And, mom comes home and something's up,
Something is always up.
It's tough.
So, okay, now that we have this, let's take it back a little bit, because I know that you went from a front desk assistant to a development assistant. Is that correct?
Yes. So,
how did you make that jump?
Yeah, so I was very lucky in that I got my front desk assistanting and my ground level assistanting out of the way when I was in college. So I was an intern at Revelations Entertainment, and I got kind of promoted at a certain point, as much as an intern can be promoted, to a front desk assistant intern hybrid. So I was greeting guests, rolling calls, parking validation. So I learned very quickly kind of the ins and the outs of this is how you just work in entertainment. I also worked as a front desk assistant at a dance studio for a hot second. So again, kind of flexing the customer service skills, if you will. But it allowed me, that amongst other things, allowed me to kind of skip the compulsory agency step or the compulsory front desk step. And I got hired. I started about 3 weeks after I graduated. I got hired before I graduated as a development assistant. at a company I actually used to intern at. So it all came
Oh, and that is why
full
you
circle.
intern.
Yes, exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
interning is meeting people. It's meeting people and getting the basic skills, and then you can kind of skip that post grad step a lot of the time.
Yeah. Wait, how many internships did you have in college?
Four.
Okay.
I did summer after my sophomore year, summer after my junior year, and then during the year my senior year, I did two. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. That's cool. I had, and most of they were like all over the place, but I haven't thought about this in years, but I
Mhm.
had 13
Oh my
internships
God.
in
Yeah.
college, and I'm just like, why did I do
How
that
did
to
you do
myself?
that? How did
Some of
you, do
them
you
were
know?
like, well, so senior side story, when I graduated college, I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
And I was interning at Say Yes to the Dress.
Oh,
I
I'm
think
so
that
jealous.
was like Monday and Friday, and I would commute from Philadelphia to New York, and then the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday part of the week, I was working as a post assistant at a small
Mm.
company called Cinema Cake Filmmakers. The fact that I remember that name, and they did wedding videos. So I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
let me
So
try
you were
some
like
stuff
in the
out.
wedding industry.
I was not actually, but I was just like, let me do a bunch of things to figure it out. And I was like, let me just go to LA. But that's
Yeah.
amazing that the internship helped you get a foot in the door because that's what it's supposed to be about. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay, so you've spent like nearly a decade working your way up from assistant to director. What were
Yeah.
some of the most pivotal moments that accelerated your growth?
Only reason I've been able to do that is because I made those internship connections. My first ever internship, I had no idea I wanted to do unscripted. I just happened to be kind of the internship that I got at the time, and I was fiending for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened also to love unscripted TV. And I got an internship at Fly on the Wall Entertainment. They do Big Brother, and many, many things since then. But um, it's where I started. I had a fabulous experience. My internship supervisor was great, and then her boss was great. And they ended up just so happening to have a position for a development assistant open
Oh,
up right
bless.
after I graduated. I emailed my former internship supervisor, said, "Hey, can you look over my resume?" And she said, "I'll do you one better. Do you want to apply for this job?" And I remember the first day on the job, I sat down and the guy who was my boss came up to me and said, "Hey, I need you to write this deck for me. Here's what you got to do. Here's the show concept. Can you write this, this, and this out?" And I remember thinking, all right, I have no idea what I'm doing. I thought I was here to be an assistant and roll calls.
Mhm.
I just got thrown into the deep end. And from there, every day was figure it out.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I was able to get from assistant to coordinator to manager and then to director in a decently,
Yeah.
expeditious timeline is because I was constantly picking up more work and I was constantly saying, okay, hey, I know you asked me to do this, but I also took a stab at doing this, even though I have
Mhm.
no idea how to do it. A
Mhm.
lot of the times it was like, hey, nice try, but, and
Mhm.
then the next time it's like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
I
it's,
love that.
yeah.
Okay. So for the people, because I feel like I'm a teaching hospital, because part of this is like teaching terms that
Yep.
like I myself would have wanted to know as a green person in this
Yes.
industry. Can you explain really quickly what a deck is?
Absolutely. Yeah. So a deck is basically a PowerPoint presentation that in the old days, we'd print it out. Now we just pull it up on Zoom or wherever. And it walks you through your show concept beat by beat. So usually it'll start with kind of a premise of, hey, here's the world of the show. Here is the why of the show. Here's what you can expect, then a page where you get your synopsis of the show, and then everything else breaks down. If it's a format, it's breaking down the rules step by step. If it's a talent-based concept, it's breaking down the talent and here's who this person is, here's who that person is. So it's
Hmm.
just a really helpful tool that during the pitch you can walk network executives through, and then they can take it upstairs to their boss as they're starting to consider green lights.
Yeah, and I will say, Okay, I had to make a pitch deck myself. I was a temp assistant somewhere and I won't name where, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Netflix has a really great public resource for creating a good deck,
Oh.
especially if you're not graphically inclined. Like there's
Hmm.
social media graphics and then there's pitch deck graphics, and that's a
Yes. Yeah.
completely different world.
Yeah. The first time I worked at a company that had somebody to make decks, and I was like, oh,
Hmm.
this is so nice because it really is just a lot of assistants and coordinators just figuring out graphic design. So
Yeah.
that's nice. Where is that?
You know what? I think I found it by accident while I was like searching around the NHA Discord, and then I
Oh,
just saw, you just like search like pitch deck and just see what
yeah.
comes up, but I'm happy to share it with
Yeah, I was gonna
you.
say link in the description.
I'll send it to you. There's no gatekeeping. I will send it to anyone who wants to see
Yeah.
it. I am so happy to share resources, whatever. But I thought it was so fascinating to see because obviously it's
Hmm.
Netflix and they're huge. So
Yeah.
what speaks to them? And they do a really good job of mapping things out. I'm also
Okay, great.
curious about Fly on the Wall because you were there for a little bit longer than maybe like the average person would be at a
Hmm.
company. What was it like to work under long-term like mentorship
Yeah.
and having
I
people teach you?
it was great. I loved my time there. It's a for doing, I mean, again, Big Brother is a huge show that we've had tons of others formats. We had Million Dollar Mile on CBS, Crime Scene Kitchen, which I was on the team that helped develop that, a big interior design show with Amazon Freebie with Jeff Lewis. And but for being a fairly large output company, we were small. So the development team, there were three of us. And I got really, really close with my boss there, who is a gentleman named Patrick Higgins. And I credit him and my coworker for part of my time there, who was my internship supervisor, Kathy Alvarez, with my career, pretty much. They taught me everything I know, and I just became kind of a stage five clinger at a certain point. I was like
Mm,
constantly like, okay, you're building a deck. I'm going to be looking over your shoulder, trying to figure out what you're doing.
yeah, can I
Or,
watch?
you're having a conversation about the show. Hey, I have an
Mm,
idea. So just it was really great to have those deep relationships and to also establish a trust and a rapport. There
yeah,
was a lot of, you start out working anywhere and misunderstandings happen and you're trying to learn each other's languages. And by the end of it, I mean, I worked with Patrick for until last year, actually. So
oh wow,
2019 to 2025. And
girl, that's a long time.
yeah, and so we were able to, at the end of it, literally, like our offices were next to each other, and I would hear like footsteps, and I would be like, I know exactly what he's gonna say. Like
Yeah,
it was a really smooth working relationship. And now going to other companies, working under other people, I can more easily have some of those fundamentals of here is the standard for what a deck should look like.
hmm,
Here is what a pitch should sound like. Here are the major players in the entertainment game. And so working under a long-term mentor like that, I was able to, you know, feel really safe and open to ask those questions and to, if I didn't know something, ask about it, or if I wanted to learn something, ask about it. And
yeah.
at a certain point, we would start to know, like, okay, this is what you can handle. I know you don't know this. I'm going to explain it before you even have to ask.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it
yeah.
seems like it was also a great place because I would think one of the things I thought about asking you was what it was like for you to take on more responsibilities and how your mindset shifted at each level as you grew up
Hmm.
at Fly on the Wall. But it
Yeah.
sounds like you just kind of proactively said, let me try this, or I'm hearing people
Yes.
talk about this. Let me, put my hat in the ring or show you what I've got or just offer to
Yeah.
help, which is really important.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
one thing I remember, Patrick at one point told me, he said, I was a manager, or I can't remember, director at this point, and he said, "You're a much better executive than you are an assistant, and you should take that as a compliment."
Holy
And
cow.
we had a great laugh about that, but it's true, and this is what I want to tell, assistants out there and people who are really they're in the industry they want to be in, they just want to move up. be a good assistant, roll the calls, schedule the meetings, but make yourself indispensable in ways that are not assistant work.
Hmm.
So whether it's, hey, you hear your boss mention that they need a title, start thinking of titles. And offhand, you could say, hey, I wrote up some titles. Not, you never want to impose yourself, but not sure if you want to read them. I'd love, take
Yep.
initiative and
Yep.
be really good at those things so that they can replace you as an assistant, but they want to promote you to coordinator. They want
Yeah.
to promote you to manager.
Because they put work into you. They want to keep you around. They're
Exactly,
training
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen people who are like the world's best assistant, but
Mhm.
they're having trouble moving up because their boss can't imagine them not being the assistant.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of a line that you have to toe of be really good at whatever job you're doing, but
Mhm.
also get good at the job that you want.
Everyone wants to keep their assistant as a career assistant because you become indispensable, but then
Hmm.
you're like, can I, move up the ladder?
Yeah,
But that's
yeah,
wonderful to hear that they were so accommodating and
yeah,
it's a great learning space for people.
yeah.
If, they want to go someplace, think about them. I don't know.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's move into, the development process and creative
Yeah.
strategy, the good stuff. So what is your current title right now?
So I am currently a development producer at Chelsea Creative. We do both casting and development. Most recently, we were behind the cast of Real Housewives of Rhode Island, which is
Hmm.
a very fun time.
Oh
Highly
my gosh.
suggest. Episodes
Okay.
drop Bravo on Sundays, Peacock on Mondays.
Okay, I know nothing about Unscripted or The Real Housewives. I think I've
Yes.
watched my first episode of a Housewives show recently, and I don't even know what show it was. So tell me about that world.
It is so much fun. Rhode Island specifically is the most beautiful place people have never heard of. It's
Oh my
like
God.
it's Hamptons light. It's everybody knows each other, and the cast is they're having a blast, and you can tell. So we've really been enjoying the response that everybody's been having,
Yeah.
and in casting an ensemble show like that, it really is so dependent on your cast members. Are they willing to quote unquote play ball? Are they willing to really put themselves out there and be themselves? And prior to me joining, actually, but Chelsea and her team found a really great group of women, and now getting to be there for the aftermath is it's something really special.
That's incredible. Ugh, I love that you're like having so much fun in your
Oh,
projects. It's
I
so
love reality TV. I haven't watched a scripted show in like a year and a half.
you haven't watched?
No.
Oh my God.
I
Not even
watched
The
an episode.
Pit?
No.
Girl.
I'm watching the show that I'm watching right now. Everybody's watching The Pit. I'm watching Ambulance Australia. They have full episodes on YouTube. And it's just following ambulances in Australia.
Sure. Man, my shows, I think the Kardashians, I have to, whatever they're
Yeah.
called now. And
Yep.
then it's always been Survivor
Yep.
but I actually didn't watch the latest season because
Oh,
I haven't had time.
I
There's only so much you
know.
can do
Well,
with
you're
your
doing this on
day.
Wednesdays now, but you gotta catch up. It's a juicy season.
I know.
It
Oh,
is a
I'm so
blast.
behind. I know. But I'm also super obsessed with The Pit and Hacks. And
Hmm.
my favorite show is Law and Order SVU. So I'm just
Oh,
like, I
okay.
got a schedule. But
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you're in the development process.
Yes.
How do you evaluate whether an idea has real like sell-through potential versus
Hmm.
just being creatively interesting? Because obviously a
Yeah.
lot of reality shows have potential, but you're like, but what's actually going to get numbers,
It-
viewership, whatever you're trying to sell?
yes. It's both an art and a science. So we get a lot of pitches that, like you said, and you put it really well, are creatively interesting. We get very few that there's nothing interesting about them. That being said, we also get it's kind of a bell curve. Most of them are creatively interesting. Some of them are, okay, thank you, but no thank you. And some of them are, this is a show.
Mm,
And in generating ideas and getting outside pitches, it really comes down to what you as a creative believe in. You get network mandates and you get things that, oh, networks right now want self-contained game shows, or they want series arcing ensemble shows, or they want, there's always kind of a trend, and certain networks tend to specialize in certain things, but you can really pigeonhole yourself in those, but you also have to believe in it as a creative. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of things. I would say the biggest thing that I've been taught to think about when evaluating a concept is, and it sounds so simple, but a lot of people forget, what are we seeing?
Mm.
I had an intern once pitch a drawing competition, and the intern said, there's never been a drawing and art painting competition before. And I said, it's creatively interesting. However, beyond seeing somebody stationary at a table drawing, what are we seeing?
Mm.
There's gotta be, that's not
Okay.
enough to sustain you for a half-hour episode. It's enough for a YouTube video. It's enough for a TikTok. And I think people conflate those ideas sometimes. They think it's interesting on YouTube, it'll be interesting for TV. And it's just not always cohesive. I think the other thing too is topical relevancy. What are current things out in the zeitgeist? What are current trends? When we were developing Million Dollar Nannies, there was a lot of articles and a lot of trends about celebrities in Ibiza and rich and famous people in Ibiza and families vacationing there. And separately, we saw articles about nannies. So it kind of coincided
Let's
of,
put them together.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
love that.
yeah, so that's a big part of it. And then also too, just some of the business constraints,
Hmm.
budget. How much is
Hmm.
this going to cost to make, and what are episode or what are network budgets right now?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
to talk about today's market, what are
hmm
common mistakes people make when developing or pitching unscripted material?
The two biggest are, again, the logistical constraints. You get a lot of people who are, and then we're going to fly from here to here, and we're going to build a house here, and our cast is going to live here, and then we're going to build this thing here. And
Hmm.
you got to start kind of thinking through, budgets are not going to support that. We can certainly scale it back once something's greenlit.
Hmm.
But if something really expensive is going up against something that can be done for cheaper, they're going to go with something that's done for cheaper. The other thing, too, is IP. A lot of times IP is a big thing, and you've got something as simple as Traders, which is kind of a what's the mafia. It's like a mafia upscaled version of a playground game. You get reboots. Yeah, that's another consideration.
I've actually never seen Traders, but I know it's really good.
It's great. It's a great time.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
gotta
they do a
try
great
it.
job with the ambiance and the
Yeah, I just can't unsee Alan Cummings as like that guy in Spy Kids on the
oh my
platform.
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with me being able to watch Trader. It's just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
how in my head I like cast typed him or whatever that
No,
phrase
I get it.
is.
I get it. He's
But I
he's
know it's
very
good.
he's very deliciously like, ugh. He had perfect
Yeah, yeah.
casting for that.
Delicious is a great way to describe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's how that
Okay.
show feels. It's just very like, ooh, it
Yeah.
scratches a certain itch.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. So, how do you balance creative instincts with the commercial realities of networks and streamers? I feel like that's a big question that can
yeah.
be answered across the board.
If I had a like 100% answer on this, I'd be a bajillionaire because I'd have every single show on the air.
Yeah.
It really comes down to, at a certain point, you have to pick your battles.
Mm.
I've been in so many rooms and pitches where you pitch this idea, you've thought through it all the way, every rule is fleshed out, you have all of the answers, and somebody says, oh, we don't like the title.
Mm.
Sure, we'll change the title. No problem. What do you want? But if somebody says, oh, we don't like, we wish this cooking competition was about knitting, that's when you have to decide, do I
Oh.
compromise the idea to make a sale? And sometimes
Yeah.
it's worth it. What's the budget? What's the network? Is there talent attached? And sometimes it's not. Sometimes, especially if there's multiple people interested, it's, this isn't quite worth it. This isn't going to work. A lot of the times it's not quite like that. It's a lot,
Yeah,
budget is
gosh. It must be
coming back to
so
that.
it must be so interesting to see like some of the more interesting pitches that come to you guys. I'm like, okay, this could be like a TikTok, like one and done.
Yeah, well, here's what I will say is they always say no, nothing is new. Everything
Hmm.
is new is old again. Everything old is gonna be new.
Hmm.
I prefer a really, maybe it's not a, like, I don't want to say good, but it's a rougher pitch, but there's something bizarre and interesting about it than a really well done pitch of an idea I've heard
Mm,
50 times before. And,
yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately, you just don't know until you pitch it. I've been in that seat where I think I have the world's best idea and then I pitch it and somebody goes, "Well, we heard that pitch last week." I had one of those, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was a competition show. I was super excited about it. We brought it to our agents at CAA at the time, and they said, "Oh yeah, they already have this show in development at CBS or wherever it was." And want
Yeah.
want
It's
months of
getting a
work.
little bit harder.
Yeah. So I'd rather, if somebody has like a totally off the wall idea, I'd rather hear that than somebody who goes, "Oh, it's my version of this or my
Hmm.
version of that."
Yeah, I get it. Okay,
Yeah.
speaking of pitching, obviously you've successfully pitched and sold to outlets like Hulu, Bravo, Discovery. Those are some of the big ones that come to
Hmm.
mind. Does your pitch strategy change depending on who you're speaking to? Or, I
Hmm.
mean, it's kind of in my head like a cover letter. You have to like change a lot of stuff, make the mission statement make sense. But what does
Hmm.
that look like for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. So a lot of the times, especially when it comes to formats, not so much to with talent because that's kind of, your talent is your talent, but with formats especially, it kind of evolves chronologically. So you go to your first pitch, and a lot of times your first pitch is your B tier network where you're like, this may not be right, and the network probably knows it may not be right, but it's a good practice.
Okay.
And then you get a lot of the kinks out and you say, "Oh, when we were running through the gameplay section here, that didn't make sense at all. Let's
Hmm.
workshop it before our pitch next week with the network where we're really mutually interested." And it keeps evolving like that. And you have your really good pitches and you have your pitches where it's, "Oh God, I forgot to say this and this happened." And, but it evolves as you get those kinks out. The
Yeah,
other thing
yeah,
is really just knowing the executive you're pitching. And this is where the relationship building comes in.
yeah.
Entertainment is mostly about relationships. You can have a pitch that's just a log line, and if you know the CEO of Netflix and you're getting lunch with him and you guys have a great rapport, you
Hmm.
pitch him that log line, that could be a show. Whereas somebody else who doesn't have that relationship could email a fully fleshed out deck and it never gets read, or it gets a pitch and passed on. But as you're going into these pitches, it's all about the relationship and the connection. So remembering something from last time, bringing up, "Oh, hey, so and so, how are the kids? I remember you had mentioned putting them in figure skating." There's
Yeah.
always those like 2 minutes of kind of back and forth
The
banter
water
before.
cooler talk.
Exactly, exactly. And that's
Yeah.
that's where it really changes because you know your executives and you know, okay, this
Yeah.
person really likes this sports team and there was a game yesterday and I genuinely take.
Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. And you're genuinely taking an interest because you can
Yeah.
tell when somebody's faking something, but
Yeah. There's like
really,
the phrase this is like I think applies to romantic relationships, but it's like to be known is to be loved, but that also
yes,
applies to
yes,
these platonic ones because
totally.
you're
Yeah.
remembering the things that make them tick, and then they're like, okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it also too carries over into the pitch style of this person really likes a pitch to be fast and they'll ask a lot of questions at the end.
Yeah.
This person, you pitch them, they will ask you no questions. And then, you can't read. There's a lot of
Yeah.
poker faces out there. So, okay,
Yeah.
I can't get slapped by this or that. You get a lot of faces that are easy to read. And okay, if they're starting to look like this, I got to do this. So
Yeah.
just really knowing the person that you're pitching.
Oh, sounds a little bit exhausting, but also a really good
Yes.
skill to get better at. And then
Hmm.
also just trying at all is better than not trying.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have been a part of some rough pitches in my day. I had to, as an intern, I actually had to pitch the guy who would have become my boss. And
OMG.
if I could like turn that back, I'm sure I was fidgety. I'm sure I was sweating. I'm sure nothing made sense. And you gotta try. The worst they can say is no. There's a lot
Yeah.
of no's, and you
Yeah.
just gotta, you can wallow at those no's for 2 seconds, and then you just gotta say on to the next.
Yeah. Okay. So to dive just a teeny bit deeper into an unscripted pitch, tell
Hmm.
me if what I'm imagining is completely wrong. You've got your deck, and then I'm assuming it's like a 15-minute presentation. Is that wrong?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay.
Again,
Okay.
it really depends on your executive and your network. You get some who you have a half-hour slot
Hmm.
and, you get cut off. You get some who they're always running late. Your pitch is probably going to be like an hour. They've got a ton of questions.
Hmm.
And so it really depends. But the
Yeah.
actual pitch itself should be about 15 minutes of walking through the deck. And then the rest is questions and brainstorming and
Yeah.
feedback and all of that.
Do you include talent attachments or anything else in the pitch deck?
It
Like,
depends.
okay.
A lot of times, I mean, again, a talent-based deck, like if it's a housewives show or something like that,
Hmm.
talent is baked in.
Okay.
So if as we go into those final meetings, you've got a lot of talent baked in, and sometimes you can swap it in and out. Like we'll pitch something with some initial talent, we'll get additional casting money, and then from there, we'll continue to reach out, interview, refine our talent group or our team or our business or whatever we're following.
Hmm.
But in terms of formats, sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. We will if there's like a celebrity EP. So if we're doing something, let's say with Channing Tatum's company, Channing Tatum will be in that deck. Or if we're doing something that is, let's say it's a game show about hip hop, we'll probably put in sample hosts and it'll be this person, this person, this
Hmm.
person, why they make sense for this concept.
Hmm.
Sometimes we won't. Sometimes it'll be,
Yeah.
just host, if it's a dating show, for example, you can kind of plug in your dating show type host to
The
that.
dream cast.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
that must be so much fun. It's like you can just pick your own avatars and be like, here you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, it's a lot of that was always one of my favorite parts until it
Yeah.
wasn't, until it's like, no, actually we need somebody more like this. And I'm like, that's a fake person. You're asking me to put a fake person in here to host.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Like,
exist.
okay. Yeah. 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 Whatever you want. Doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense. I still
Yeah.
think he'd be better.
Yeah. But I love the talent piece of it, which is why right now I'm doing a
Yeah.
lot of the talent-based development.
Wow. Okay. So, how have streamer demands changed the way unscripted content is developed and sold? That's a big question.
It is. It's funny because we're at kind of a point where it's kind of the Wild West. And I wouldn't even necessarily say it's streamer demands. I would say it's the constant addition of new buyers and
Mm.
different types of buyers. The streamers were kind of the first wave of like the new buyers. So before it was like, okay, you're going to sell your show to Fox, CBS, ABC, CW, MTV, like you have your cable channels that you're going to sell your show to.
Cable.
Then it was, okay, now there's Netflix. Netflix is buying. Then there's HBO. Then there's Discovery Plus, and oh, now they're merging, and now
Mm.
there's all the different streamers. Then, okay, YouTube is commissioning things, but also they're not only commissioning things, you can just develop and produce something and put it on YouTube. And that way you can control the ad revenue. And oh, if you have a sponsor, not only can you do that, but you can sell it to Roku. Amazon does a lot
Hmm.
of dedicated sponsor buying. Hulu has a ad-supported sponsored arm of their distribution platform.
Yeah.
So, and then TikTok,
Can't
TikTok is
forget
doing stuff.
TikTok.
I remember the first pitch I was ever in was actually for OnlyFans.
No
And
way.
they were trying to put out non-explicit adult content. And so I had developed a bunch of content for them and was part of that pitch. So it's just constantly new apps, new distributors. Was it Chick-fil-A that announced a streaming platform? Like
I
ads
don't
are,
know.
so
Whoa.
it's not so much just the streamers anymore. It's all of these different funding models and platforms and what they're
Yeah.
asking for. And then the mergers too, you know?
Yeah. Oh God, the mergers.
Yeah.
Man,
And
I can barely handle that. If Chick-fil-A or some other like restaurant chain
yeah.
starts getting involved, I'm done.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, the mergers are a whole thing too, because at a certain point,
Hmm.
it's like, who am I pitching and what are they commissioning? Are they commissioning?
Yeah. And if you
You
don't know what
know,
we're talking about, you should Google it.
yeah. Oh God.
It's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
the
man.
mergers.
Yeah. Okay. Damn. I didn't even think about how many, chess pieces, moving
Yeah,
parts that are involved.
yeah.
Whoever is demanding something, that's a lot to work
That's
with.
where having agency friends comes in handy because they know
Yeah.
what's going on and they
The
can be like,
people who can separate the madness.
yeah, they can be like, you got to
Yeah.
pitch Scooby-Doo, the new streaming service in partnership with Home Depot, a game dance show. You know, they're looking for
You're
that.
like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, heard, I can do that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you've also worked with some digital creators like Mr. Beast. So I'm curious, like you mentioned TikTok.
Hmm.
How has working on projects tied to influential digital creators, such as Mr. Beast, has that influenced your approach to casting and the development of the show?
Yes. Yeah. And when I was at Fly on the Wall, we did Mr. Beast's Creator Games, which aired on his channel in partnership with YouTube Originals, to basically, and I think the first two seasons or episodes were shot during COVID. So it was
Mm.
basically like a Zoom tournament of the first one was rock, paper, scissors, and the second one was trivia. And
Wow.
so, being part of the development and trying to figure out what are some of these challenges that can be executed very quickly and over Zoom and
Yeah.
that whole process. But working with some of these creators, a lot of them have started to function almost like mini and not even mini
Hmm.
studios. Like, you've got Mr. Beast, who he's got a full studio.
He's
The Beast
huge.
Beast Games on Amazon is fully self-produced. They don't
Yeah.
have another production company attached or any other secondary partners. It's them and Amazon. And
Yeah.
you get, Smosh, Good Mythical Morning. You get a lot of these creators with their own studios. And so then the conundrum becomes, why do they need production companies? We're
Mm.
just going to self-produce and we'll sell it to a streamer or a traditional media outlet, or we'll just put it on YouTube and still make money from the ad revenue. So
Yeah.
trying to carve that niche in development in order to sell them on why they need you to produce this specific show, and then also figuring out what creators kind of sit in the middle, because you get a lot of creators that they belong on YouTube,
Hmm.
that's their niche, that's their world, that's where they belong. And then you get the big conglomerates of Mr. Beast doesn't need us to produce his show.
Yeah.
Who are the ones sitting in the middle where there's a show here, but they also don't have their own infrastructure? So
Mm.
that was a whole rabbit hole that, I dove into last year, continue to dive into.
Yeah,
Um,
which I also imagine is very fascinating research.
yes. Oh, I have seen so
Yeah.
many. I thought I was in the loop on YouTube. I love YouTube. I watch a ton of YouTube. I was coming across creators and I was like, and who are you? Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a lot
There's a
of like,
million of them.
well, and it's a lot of the ones for either younger kids or,
Yeah.
people outside of my demographic. It's so vast.
Yeah.
So it's really just kind of a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
And I've had a bunch that I've stumbled across. We do a deal, we develop a show, either passed on or kind of development funded. And then you just kind of keep going. It's really a volumes game with the creators. They like to be involved.
Hmm.
And just, yeah, really selling them on why they need you versus I can just do it myself on my channel.
I get it. We all want to be included and involved.
Hmm.
Okay, so are there any emerging formats or audience behaviors right now that you think the industry is underestimating, considering how like your foot is in many doors right now?
I think there's two, and they're both kind of things that we've touched on.
Okay.
I think the one is creator formats. I think it's still a couple years ahead of us. I think it's they've tried it, they did Pop the Balloon on Netflix. We have Beast Games, The Sidemen, a British YouTube channel had a version of Big Brother on Netflix. So there have been some of these formats coming out, but I think there's going to be, especially with the ad supported creation of content, there's going to be a big boom in creators double dipping. They're on YouTube, but they're also have their, traditional media format.
Hmm.
The other thing, which, that's kind of a futuristic, oh my God, we've got YouTubers creating TV now. What is this newfangled thing? I think there's going to be a return of classic ensemble shows.
Ooh, I love
Jersey
to hear that.
Shore type, like,
Oh my God, I grew
yeah,
up watching Jersey
yeah.
Shore. Probably was not of the right age for that, but
Nobody was.
I would love
I
to
was
see
like
that come
10. I'm
back.
like, let's get
Yeah,
crazy,
Snooki, where
get
you at?
loud. Um,
Yeah.
but I think people, and this has been some of the response that I've seen from Real Housewives of Rhode Island and that we've
Mm,
seen as a company is people really enjoying kind of this old school, everybody really knows each other, everybody has
yeah.
history, everybody they're having fun. You can tell that there's this lightness to it while still being dramatic. And you get the OMG gasp pearl clutching moments,
Hmm.
but you also get a lot of like levity and jokes and fun and
Yeah.
um, connected cast. So I think there's going to be a lot of that as well. And I think, I mean, it's really such an unpredictable industry. I'm sure I'm saying all of this, and the next thing is going to be POV knitting shows or something.
Don't
It's
put that into the
only
universe. We don't need a knitting
Hey, I can
competition.
film that myself. I hope that goes
Yeah.
off. If I can film that and sell it to CBS and make $1 million,
Yeah. What would
sign
be
me up.
like, okay, if you were to, two questions,
Yes.
what would be a show that you would love to see, but you didn't want to be involved in producing? You just want to strictly enjoy it. And then what's a show that you really want to make?
I'm going to use because I've got a lot of ideas up here that I don't necessarily want to put out into the universe until I've
That's
sold them
fair.
yet. But I'm going to use existing shows.
Okay.
I really, really, really love any show about drugs, crime, prison, debauchery. I develop a lot of like Bravo girly,
Hmm.
whatever game
You
formats.
want something hard.
I come home, I've seen every episode of Intervention maybe 4 times, including the ones that they only have on Daily Motion. Um,
Wow.
so those are the types of shows. I don't think I'd be necessarily, I'll take that back. I don't have a lot of experience producing those types of shows. And then there's some where I'm like, oh, this is a little bit too gritty for me. I don't know if I'd want to produce that, but I'll never say no to anything. I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
Um, Something like Maury too.
Yeah.
I love a good Maury. I would probably never want to produce it, but it's a ton of fun.
Okay.
And then the show that I always wish that I had a hand in somewhere. It is one of the most interesting, well shot, you know,
Mhm.
Last Chance You on Netflix. Boardwalk
Ooh.
really just, it's so good. It's the talent is great, the storylines are amazing, it's shot really well, the music is good. It's another one where I've seen every season like 3 or 4 times, and
I
it's
bet.
just I'll go back to it every single time.
Wow,
It,
you've the shows you've mentioned, I maybe like knew one, which is why I love this conversation
oh
because
yeah.
I know nothing about
Oh,
Unscripted,
I was gonna
but
say I can
like,
go even Jersey Licious, which was a
like
hair salon
there's no
Jersey
way
Shore
that's
knockoff
real.
back in the day. Locked Up
Oh,
Abroad, that was an old favorite of mine.
you say Jerseylicious and I think Fergalicious. So
Oh,
that's where I'm at.
great
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. Okay. So you are in a leadership role, which is really exciting. You are on a creative team, which probably means you have some managerial duties. I'm
Mhm.
curious to know how your leadership skill set has evolved and what your approach to managing a team has been like and how it's evolved since you
Mhm.
were an assistant. Because now you're on the
Yeah.
other side.
Yeah, I think there is a kind of an inverse, you start as an assistant, and me personally, I started, I'm like, I know everything. I'm coming in here. I
As
had
you
4
should.
internships. I know everything about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And by having good leaders, I started to realize that good leaders don't know everything. And part of what makes them good is they recognize that and are making this a collaborative environment versus a dictatorship. And sometimes
Oh, I
there's,
love
you
that.
always you need somebody to steer the ship. You need somebody to be in charge and put together those ideas and synthesize everything and pick the best one, pick a direction. But there's a difference between a manager who takes charge and a manager who wants to control everything and
Mm-hmm.
wants
Mm-hmm.
to a micromanager. You get a lot of
Nobody wants to be micromanaged.
no,
Trust is
no.
so important, and I feel like it is like the dying skill set of leadership these days. No one
Yes.
trusts anybody.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's either somebody is too hands off of like, oh, you got it,
Hmm.
or somebody who's breathing down your neck if,
Yeah.
I'm the only
Would
one who
you
can do
want
this.
that? Like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like a
Okay.
lot of them were probably it's being managed is a lot of
Yeah, it's
monkey
how
see,
you were
monkey do.
parented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So they were probably micromanaged at a certain point, and that person was probably micromanaged, and to them, that's management.
Yeah.
But I think, when I'm working with people, it's all about the collaboration. A good idea
Mhm.
can come from anywhere. It can come from the CEO, it can come from the janitor, it can come from your next door neighbor, Steve.
Hell yeah,
Um,
Steve.
yeah, yeah, I've gotten ideas from just random people we're talking, and it's well, this,
Yeah.
that, or
Wait a
the they say something, and I'm
minute.
like, wait a minute, that
You
kind of
got
makes sense.
something there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So it's really recognizing that and surrounding yourself with people whose general taste you trust.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain
Absolutely.
taste level of you get it, you get what a good show looks like.
Hmm.
Now, within those parameters of a good show, go crazy.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if somebody wanted to work in unscripted development with Chelsea Creative or just like, in the unscripted role, what are some skills or things they should be working on to try to get in? And I say that with the obvious context that a lot of people already know Hollywood is really hard to work. It's
hmm
hard to get in, it's hard to stay in, it's hard to move up. Obviously, everyone's trying to be proactive. What would you say to folks?
I would say the number one thing to practice is resilience.
Ooh.
It's demanding. I mean, it is, you will pitch 100 ideas, 99 will be no's, and one will, get additional funding for more development. And that one might become a no, and every 99 of those becomes a show.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of resilience. And when you're developing these shows, you spend months on them. I mean, I've had shows that I've worked on for a year, and you put your heart and your soul, and you're a creative, and you're really developing this thing, and it goes to one network meeting and it gets passed on because,
Ugh. Yeah.
oh, we just greenlit this and we don't need that, or we don't like this talent anymore, or we don't like
Hmm.
any reason, business reasons, personal reasons, you just have to go with it. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you can do with it. You just you give yourself 5 minutes to wallow over that year of work, and then you just go
Yeah.
on to the next one.
Do you have a routine if you want to share? You don't have to for how you process that stressful moment of all of this, like a year plus, like work and the passion you have. And you're like, breathe, walk away. How do you do all that? How do you process? How do you
For,
walk
for
away?
me, I have to literally say the words on to the next one. And for me, that's
Mm,
like, it is what it is. I
wow.
can't control it. It's nothing I did, but it is a skill. I remember the first time we got something passed on, it was like the stages of grief. I was like bargaining. I was like, but what if we do this? and and anger. It was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I remember just, then it happens again and again. And I kept thinking like, wow, if I'm gonna have this strong a reaction to this every time, you just can't do it. It just takes such a toll on you. So you have to be willing to give the baby away. And
Mm,
even in terms of, okay, if they pass on it, you're giving the baby away. But in development also too, if it goes into production, you're
yeah.
also kind of giving the baby away because that's when the development team goes hands off. And, we'll get bits and pieces, but a lot of times production and showrunners kind of take over. And sometimes a show will come back and it's nothing like what you thought it was going to be, for better or for worse. And you just kind of have to look at it and go, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. You just can't get attached after you pitch.
Oh, that's like the hardest thing too. You can't get attached, especially
Yeah.
in development. And that also applies to scripted. I'm just like, that's such a hard skill set.
Yeah, it's tough, especially
Yeah.
too with the art versus business.
Hmm.
You want in development, you want to be an artist, you want to be creative, you want to be fun. You don't want, I business developed ideas are so boring. You can tell when somebody's developing thinking, well, this location and this thing here, and
Yeah.
versus somebody who's being free and developing from their heart. But then once that's done, you kind of have to put your business pants on and okay, I invented this project and now I have to sell it. And you got to be a salesman versus a creative.
This kind of leads me into a great way to kind of wrap out our conversation.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you remember a time when a show you pitched did not grow legs with the person, the company, whatever you call it, wherever
Mhm.
it wanted to go, it didn't get there. You waited and then it found a life someplace else.
I mean, it happens I wish I could. I'm trying to think of like
But if it
one in
happens all the time,
particular.
that's great to
It
know.
does. It
Yeah.
does. It's something that if and this is what I tell people too, if you're passionate about an idea, keep it in your back pocket
Mhm.
because it could be something that, it's not right now, but it's right in 2 years. I mean, the Jeff Lewis interior design project, I think it started in development when I was an intern and it sold when I started as or no, right after I started as like a coordinator. Like it was in
Wow.
development for 4 years and it kept going and ebbing and flowing, and it just really is about timing. So
Yeah.
if you really believe in something, keep it in your back pocket, reevaluate it. I would say, you want to, when readdressing something, think of it though, don't get attached to any of the concept necessarily. Look at actually what's happening and say, okay, I really want to make a dating show for dogs. I developed it as self-contained and everybody's buying something art right now and I know it'll sell. So now I'm going to redevelop it. And
Yeah.
then,
I would watch
okay,
that.
it doesn't sell, and then you got to put it in your back pocket again.
Hmm.
If you really believe in it,
Hmm.
Godspeed.
Yeah.
If that's what you got to do.
You do
Plenty
what
of
you
great
gotta
ideas.
do.
Well, yeah, plenty of great ideas were once poo-pooed. It just
Yeah.
took the right person and the right timing, and
Yeah.
believing in something is all you can do a lot of times in the business. And it's
Hell
you
yeah.
gotta have hope and optimism, and otherwise
Just
you're
stay
gonna go
hopeful.
crazy. Yeah,
In
exactly, exactly.
2026 Hollywood, just stay
Yeah.
hopeful.
Yeah. I remember it was like survive in 25. There was something in
Oh
24,
yeah, there's always
but
something every year. And we're like,
yeah.
we're still doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, okay. So I'm gonna say 27 is gonna be heaven.
Oh, I like
That's
that. Okay, if you
I'm
coin that,
stamping it now.
heck yeah, I will stand by that. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was so lovely to get to know you and your world and Chelsea Creative. And now I gotta watch literally any of the shows that you've mentioned because I knew nothing about. You kept saying things. I was like, what is she talking
If
about?
you need a guide, I've got you. I'll go through a whole, it's like I've got like a library of unscripted up here, which is probably terrible. I should have like math skills or like know how to invest to change my tire, but it's like
Did you do your
episode 2 of
taxes?
Jerseylicious, the argument between Teresa and Olivia in the parking lot. If you know,
Hmm.
you know.
Hopefully, someone else also got a little bit of an education tonight.
Thank you again so much
Yeah.
for having me, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
Yay.
Wow, there is a lot more that goes on in unscripted development than I ever realized.
Yeah, I'm a little bit winded, but she was amazing, and I learned so much, which was the point of this.
Kaitlyn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It was lovely hearing about what you do. And if you're listening and think that you want to help other people learn about what you do in the film industry, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to schedule
We
you
want
on.
to have a conversation with you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for listening. No, we are keeping that in there. Thank you so much for listening and or watching, and we will see you on the next one.
Okay.